I gotta unmute myself. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. So, in lieu of doing all this, I'm gonna make sure I get my mic set right up because always doing changes at the Dr. Vibe Show, and we are now using a different mic. So you may see a little bit of it. Yeah, I think we'll get to it. Yeah, we'll get to it. There we go. Yes, Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team since 2020, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live on Sunday, August 17th. August still has some time to go yet, but those ads for back to school are flooding the airwaves all over the place. But we're always in school on Sunday afternoons. We're in the Cesar Ndema-Moussa school on Black Canada Talking. And Cesar, good to see you as always.
Vibe and your entire team. Thank you for having me. Hello to all the sisters, brothers, and allies out there. Always a pleasure.
Good stuff. How are things family wise?
The family's good. One day at a time, as you said. Summer is ending, but let us hope this good weather can go east. As Eastern Canada, there's a lot of fires
Oh,
going on. So let's hope for better weather for the entire country and, of course, for the whole planet Earth in regards to climate change. We don't talk enough about climate change in the environment. I invite people to pay attention to the talks, the global talks about plastic, notably as the African continent, but also Black communities worldwide are highly, highly victim of plastic and the consequences of plastic as well.
100%, 100%. Yeah, well, in the Greater Toronto area, this is our first cool day we've had in a while today. We had some rain
Mhm.
earlier this morning. Certainly the humidity has lessened. It's decent weather outside, not humid,
Mhm.
humid hot like it was over the last little while. How's it like in Ottawa today?
Today is good. 22. There was 22 degrees Celsius. There was a little bit of light rain earlier. Um, so I like it when it's hot. But in fairness to me saying that, I'm not often outside with air conditioning, the car with air conditioning, the office with air conditioning, but ultimately, um, we have to be mindful, as I would say, you're asking the weather in Ottawa, as we see, inflation, economic situations, mental health, etc., etc. Climate change, and notably how hotter our summers are becoming, and also the way winter is becoming, the environment will become a topic that we will no longer be able to ignore in our conversation, notably regarding the fates and realities of Black people.
100%. And Cesar, remember a time where masses of people said climate change didn't exist or global warming?
Yes, I do, but let me be fair here. What's the name of the industry again? Big tobacco, big what's
Big
the other
pharma?
big pharma. An expression I learned these last few weeks was big porn. The porn industry, big porn. Uh, there's always an industry, corporate interest in the denial of the evidence of harm being done to the most vulnerable ones. And even today, when you look at the Trump administration, the measures that they took in regards to the Environmental Protection Agency, it's still these aspects of denial of climate
Yeah.
change. It always happens over there, and yet we have floodings in Texas, We have fires in Canada or in California, etc., etc. People choose to deny, but as I often say, in the 21st century of STEM, mass education, and mass information, ignorance is a choice. It
Hmm.
is a choice. It's okay to be wrong. It's one thing to be wrong. It's another thing to deny the obvious.
Okay. Okay. We're not going to talk about it in the main core of our conversation. And thanks everyone who's watching live. Actually, Dr. Tachi says, good evening, all. Good to have you. We don't have you a lot of the time on a Sunday afternoon chat. And also, she says, we need to
Seem to
mitigate.
have lost the feed.
That's on your end, my friend. Are you good, Cesar? Okay, it
I
looks
can't
like we're
hear
having
you.
some. Okay. Cesar, can you hear us? All right, it looks like Cesar is having some technical difficulties on his end. Dr. Tachi says we need to mitigate the plastics problem. 100%. 100% on that. Okay. Producer Matt, I think what we should do is take Cesar off because I see in the on the back in the green room his connection is no good. So what we're gonna do, hmm. Okay, we'll take a break. I think, yeah, Cesar seems to be, yeah. So we're going to take a break for about 30 seconds and see if there's something going on Cesar's end of the conversation. We'll be back in 30 seconds and we'll announce something new for Black Canada Talking that I've rolled out on other platforms, but we're going to be talking about it today on this one. So we'll be back in 30 seconds. Whenever I'm around, it's the home of epic conversations.
So many of us are blind to the fact that they don't know what they don't know.
We sort of appreciate all the help that we're given, all the help that the government is giving us, but we as people, we have to unite together.
Confidence is something that's very impactful because that is something that you carry with you.
Oh, that mic drop. All right. So let's see if Cesar, can you hear us? Yeah, there's Cesar, can you hear us? Yes, no? Yeah, there's something going on his end because he's not even acknowledging hearing me. So what we're gonna do is, yeah, we'll take him off screen. All right. So let's do some housework and then we're gonna get into a new feature for this show. First things first, if you want to subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show, I'm encouraging you to. Please subscribe on YouTube and hit the notification button. Get get the subscription up, get all that stuff going on. Also, please follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Substack. Uh, you know what? I really did some crazy things today. I'm just taking a look. All right. There's some really okay, let's do this. To advertise your business product or service on any of the platforms I'm on, please email me at dr VIBE at the DR, VIBESHOW.com. Speaking about Dr. Tachi, you can get a hold of her on her great platform called Indie Soup TV, which I'm a part of in regards to providing content. I also sit on the advisory board. Independent content creators platform. I'm going to say now been around for about 18 months. And coming close, if not past 28,000 YouTube subscribers. And I always have to make sure I mention this. Only 4% of all YouTube channels have over 10,000 subscribers. Dr. Tachi's done it in less than 2 years. Hello, hello, hello. All right. What we'll do here is this. Producer Matt, let's talk about the new feature. So if we can put that up. Now, I've rolled this out on other shows that I host, but this is the first time we're going to be putting on this one, and maybe people will want to call in. For many years, I've always wanted to add a feature where you could be more interactive. Many times, yeah, you put your comments in whatever comment section on what platform you're watching live on, but now you can call in. Now, two ways you can call in. If you have a laptop, desktop, tablet, smartphone, I don't know if there's anything else. You can go on your favorite browser on any of those devices and put callme.rode.com. And once you go, now that's one way. The other way is if you have this thing called a smartphone, you can scan the QR code. So that's step one. You can either use your digital device or you can use the QR code. You're then going to go to a page that's going to ask you to put in the code. And the code that we're using is FSP L8L. And the letters are all caps. And also it's going to ask you to put in your name. And then what will happen is a button will come up, green button will say join conversation. Once you press that, ta-da, we bring you into the conversation live. So this is something new for this platform. I've rolled it out on 2 other shows that I host and co-produce, and that's going strong. So we got a number of people in here today, which is fantastic. And yeah, we've got some people in on Facebook. We've got some people in on YouTube. So that is a new feature we have on the show. We're just liking to see if Cesar has solved his challenge yet. I don't know if he has or not, because for some I see something saying, yeah, I don't know if he's in there or not. This is a great opportunity. If you want to call in and chat with us, fantastic. Dr. Tachi, I would actually love to see, because I know you tried on the show I hosted on Friday. I'd love you to give a shot at it right now, and let's see if we can hear you live. You can hear us because you weren't responding. Okay, you can hear us okay?
I just hear you now, yes.
All right. Woo! Okay. We're patience. So, Cesar, good to have you back. I just wanted to just inform the audience we have a new feature with the program. People can actually call in live and give their feedback or comments.
Okay.
So this is the way you're seeing on the screen. People can do it, whether desktop, laptop, tablet, smartphone. They can go to their favorite browser and put in callme.rode.com, or they can use their smartphone and scan the QR code there. It'll take them to a page which will ask them to put in a code, and the code is on the screen there, FSP L8L. Note that all the letters are in capitals, then ask you to put in your name. In green, you'll be asked to join the conversation. And once you do that, we can patch you in. Oh, here we go. Dr. Tachi. All right, there we go. Dr. Tachi.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Wonderful to have you.
Good, I was trying and it finally went through.
Well, great to have you as always. Please, if you would love to, greet Cesar.
Cesar, how are you, sir?
Tachi, how are you, my sister? It's been a while.
It has been. It has been. It's good to hear you.
Good stuff. Well,
Good to hear you
Dr.
always.
Tachi, would you mind, we may want to get your feedback during some of the topics of these conversations if you're up to it.
Sure.
All right. Well, fantastic. So we've got Dr. Tachi from Fort Lauderdale and Cesar from Ottawa, myself from Toronto. So one other thing we want to do is just make sure if you want to get a hold of Cesar, you can get a hold of him via email at president@rootsandculturecanada.com or on Facebook at Cesar Remy Emery. So let's get into our first conversation topic. And producer Matt, we can probably take down the shared screen and just go straight. And our first conversation topic today is 47 Putin, Ukraine, Alaska. No deal. So in politeness, I like to always say ladies first. Dr. Tachi, any takes on this?
Are we surprised? I think that is the only thing I have to say. None of this was born out of sincerely wanting to do things. There's a huge egotistical piece to this. It's not out of sincerely wanting to see peace, And if you ask me, this is being orchestrated so that he can win the Nobel Peace Prize. This is what this is all about.
Okay. Cesar.
Oh, Dr. Tachi pretty much just said half of what I was going to say.
Sorry.
No. Look, I'm going to be a little bit more nuanced here. Um, First of all, I'm disappointed by American media and even European media, as you know, I follow the news from France and uh, England, but I am disappointed because uh, as Dr. Tachi just said, no surprise. Okay, why do we pretend to be surprised by the turning out of whatever this Trump administration does? And of course, him doing all this propaganda, 10 out of 10, he went great, etc., etc. And then we get information such as the amateurism of the team with documents left revealing the details of the summit, including what was given for lunch. This entire administration functioned on the notion of anything and whatever to basically be in the spotlight while trying to drown the topics that need to be addressed, such as the Epstein files, by the way, such as the economic situation, inflation, the stats number, the data number. But even when we talk about Ukraine, and I'm not a fan of him, can you imagine Ronald Reagan would talk to Mr. Gorbachev back in the 80s that this wall must go down? And here we have basically the reverse of a Rocky Four scene, Rocky Balboa versus Ivan Drago of Russia. It's the reverse. This time it's the great Russian leader, you know, USSR, Russian leader coming to America, being brought back into the spotlight of international affairs, the red carpet, you know, fighter planes to welcome him. And this is in Alaska, former Russian territory until 1867. Uh, I don't think it's so much no deal. I think it's very much Putin won, being back in the spotlight, main stage in America. But did Trump really lose when we know full well that his cult members, the MAGA, but also too many of the mainstream media are just glad to run any and every news about Trump, even though the results should not be surprising. I mean, has Trump ever really cared about Ukraine? To really stand by Ukraine? Talking about sanctions and he will be tough on Russia, and then suddenly, like, he really looked like a guy who got reunited with his long lost girlfriend. And he was like all over him, Putin, and because Putin can do no wrong, and it's just like, can you? It's literally like the president of the United States being like, "Can you see that I'm next to this guy? Can you see that I'm next to Vladimir? This is a great Putin, my friend, like Vlad, Melania. I can call him on the phone, like it's like he knows who I am. Like, let's be honest, for a wannabe dictator as Trump, a man who has illusion of grandeur without limit, a man who will, you know, from inauguration attendance back in 2017, January 2017, to right now, Alaska claiming that it was a great success, although no deal happened, and now everybody's anxious about this meeting that he's going to have with Zelensky on Monday. And let's be honest, how he received so well Putin compared to how he received Zelensky a couple of weeks, a few
Yeah.
months ago. That
Yes.
tells
Yeah.
you something. It's the psyche of a man who is clearly indicating to you cares and cater to power. Technically, of course, you should care to power. You cannot receive, let's be honest, you can't receive President Xi Jinping of China in the same way that you would receive some minor African president that nobody knows of. But still, there is decorum, there is a sense of respect, and that part of respect, notably to your allies, such as Ukraine, and also the notion of, is America still a democracy to welcome such a man, a leader, who does not hide being a dictator? There is no surprise, there is no, masquerading of such. It's a very interesting time that we live in, and Donald Trump keeps being Donald Trump, and people still act like they're surprised, as if it's 2016 or 2017. Why? Success, in a positive sense, is a surprise when it comes to Trump. The
Hmm.
normal is what we saw in Alaska. Big
Hmm.
media, fanfare, the show must go on, uh, and but truly, concretely, a failure, of course.
Dr. Tachi, question for you. 47 was saying last week if Russia didn't come to some agreement with him by last Friday, there'd be sanctions. There's been no sanctions.
Well, why do you think Mr. Putin likes to call him? What is it? A beautiful fool? Is that the term he uses? There's a lot of hot air and smoke and lights and mirrors that only the very daft believe, which is why he goes after the very daft to be part of his base. So he goes after the people who don't know any better or don't wish to know any better, and then the people who are fearful of losing whatever rubbish position that they have, right?
I want
So
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go. Sorry to
No, no, go ahead. Go
interrupt.
ahead.
Well,
No.
Cesar had mentioned about the media coverage, and for those who are not aware, media. Dr. Tachi is my go-to person when it comes to media and the world of
Mhm.
media. Can you give for our audience on Black Canada Talking from your lens, especially your thoughts on American media coverage of 47 and actually their coverage of this no deal of yesterday?
So I have to be honest, I haven't been following the. It's a perfect depiction of why what happens happens. I'll give you an example. So we just went through the, well, I don't know that it's 100% there, but the FCC did approve the Paramount Skydance merger, right? Paramount owns what? CBS, MTV, a whole bunch of different things, but I'm looking specifically at things like CBS. They have news, right? So the whole reason that this went through is because the FCC said it should go through. I think everybody is careful when it comes to asking for things because at a moment's notice it could be pulled. And if you become the ire of his fiercity and fierceness, you you could be going down. So I think there's so much at stake for so many American media outlet, mainstream American media outlets, that people are fearful of saying anything. Because if you watch American news, you're not seeing anything you're not seeing anything that is calling anything out, even though that's not always the job of news. They're supposed to bring things to light, and that doesn't always happen. And I think it's because they're fearful of losing whatever standing, because there's somebody that owns it in all these cases that is tied somehow to them or stands to lose whatever they have because of. So the bottom line is this: is you can't trust mainstream media, and I'm saying this as a journalist. If you watch a lot of the people that have been let go from these mainstream and cable news stations, they're now all coming to their into their own spaces on YouTube, etc., and reporting what should have been reported on mainstream news, which will not because there are too many financial and political interests mixed up in it now. So my final thing is that it's really difficult to find the mainstream news media that you could trust, particularly broadcast, right? Newspaper, maybe, but I really point people toward outside of the country to get a fairer depiction of what's happening, if this makes sense.
Allow me to tell you just how much sense it makes. What you just said, Dr. Tachi, is very similar to what Don Lemon, and we remember the celebrated black journalist Don Lemon from CNN, who got
Yes.
fired. Um, Don Lemon was saying similar yesterday, I believe, on MSNBC in regards to the lack of courage of mainstream media in tackling and analyzing Trump. Of course, I'm not trying to paint a broad stroke upon brush upon all mainstream media, as you can, of course, hear criticism whether on CNN or even Fox sometimes do pull up the pants in addressing Trump. But overwhelmingly, we are seeing uh, a state in America becoming more and more um, autocratic, with the
Mhm.
executive branch of government being cancerous to all aspects of American society in worse manner than 70 years ago at the height of McCarthyism in the United States. This really, and we only, what, 6, 7 months in Trump 2.0 administration? Technically, there's still 3.5 years to go. The question no longer is, and should have never been, how far will he go, aka Project 2025, aka white supremacy trying to prevent or push as far back on the notion of whites becoming the minority in the US, because this is really what the fear is. The question is, how and where will minorities, and when I'm saying minorities, I should be saying majority, minorities that notably include white allies. And here, when I say white allies, don't misunderstand me. I don't do this Democrat versus Republican thing. White allies, whether they be on the left or on the right, who are seeing how the United States and eventually the entire Western world is shifting, and for them to decide, is this the world, the country that we want to live in? Is this the type of democracy that we want to have, aka ethnic states of whiteness, Christian, aka Christian nationalism at the forefront? I address these extremist groups, whether it be on religion, on politics, gender, and notably race. These white supremacists have in Donald Trump their champion, and as such, the question is not how far will they go. The question is how well will the resistance, how well will those who have these human values, how well will they organize, and to what extent are they willing to stand up for democracy, for truth, for justice, for humanity?
Well said.
May I add a little bit?
Absolutely,
100%.
absolutely, Dr. Tachi. Go ahead. And then I've got another
Yeah,
conversation piece in regards to the Alaska and media coverage, but continue.
sure, sure. I 100% agree, but you know that I always agree with Cesar,
Thank
usually.
you.
So
I'm honored.
that's
Thank
not
you.
a surprise. No, I mean, because your point of view is so clear and informed, and it just above the level. So I always agree with what you say. I haven't disagreed yet. It's, so 100%. I agree with with everything you said. I think I wanted to point to the fact of, and I hate to say it like this, but no, I don't hate to say it like this, because anybody who knows me knows I could care less what people think, because I'm going to say the truth. There is there are levels to journalism now. Initially, journalists, of course, were there to tell the news, to tell the whole story in an unobtrusive manner with their whole truthful selves, right? And to not inject opinion, right? That's supposed to be objective reporting. But then what starts to happen is different factions and interests get involved, which sways the agenda of not necessarily the journalists themselves, but the outlet that they happen to be reporting for. And because I think journalists have lost sight of what journalism is, what true journalism is supposed to be, and it's morphed into this thing that is unrecognizable. Now, don't get me wrong. I know some amazing journalists, and there are amazing journalists that are still out there. But the moment that you speak up and try to actually not even just speak truth to power, but correct what is wrong, then you become the bad person. You become the quote unquote bad guy, right? And they try as much as they can to get you out. And what bothers me is that there are enough journalists that if journalists stood up for journalists in this country, there wouldn't be a problem. But too many people see what's happening as, oh, that's such and such's problem or such and such's outlet problem, and not for journalism as a whole. So I'm not seeing what I want to see with journalism. There are a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are a number of journalists out there that are just so afraid and fearful that they don't stand up and do what's right, and they won't stand up and say what's right. What good are you as a journalist who is supposed to speak to the people and report on what's going on if you can't be truthful about it? So that's what bothers me about that. So I wanted to add that on to what you said about, journalists.
Okay, I just want to add on another conversation piece that I was hearing a reporter. So 47 gets back from his Alaska summit. Most of the media said it was terrible, etc. Cesar mentioning how government documents are left behind. What did you think 47 did first thing he came back into America? Where did he run to?
McDonald's.
No,
I don't know.
he ran to do an interview on Fox television. Now, question Dr. Taji, because you're our media go-to person, and I heard a commentator say they compared Russian television to Fox television, state-owned broadcast network. Thoughts?
100%. It is state-owned television. 100%. It is obviously very conservative, and it's opinion, not even informed opinion. It's opinion. I can't bring myself to look at them. I've watched them in the past. I don't watch them now because I'm not in the habit of exposing myself to lies and liars. I think we also need to stop separating the fact that they tell lies and call them liars. This is what we don't do. They are liars. People who tell lies are liars. Let's use that adjective, right? So it's 100% state-owned television at this point because the thing is, even though it's private, they refuse to stand up and correct anything that's wrong if it's going to anger uh, King T. If it's going to anger King Tang, they will not go against it. And this is what happens with television stations where there are regimes that dictate what is supposed to be. If you can't speak well about the king, etc., then it's curtains for you as a station. And I think there's one of two things. They were already filled with a lot of hate-filled reporting, inaccurate reporting. And the people that are there, they're not even journalists for the most part. Most of these people are just personalities from someplace else
Hear you.
they wrangled in and brought them onto Fox News. They're not journalists, so they're not trained in how to do interviews, how to tell the truth, how to do no harm through journalism. They don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
So Fox News compared to Russian television, and again, many of the audience here is not too familiar. They may be a little bit, but it just in general. Then, what is your encouragement? What's the good encouragement for independent media these days, like platforms like your own?
Do it. I 100%. Honestly, and I've been maybe I talked this into existence. I've been saying for years whenever I do the predictions of what's going to happen for the new year in the 100 predictions book, I usually generally talk about the rise of the media, of independent media. I talked about that again this year. I talked about the rise of citizen journalism. And this has always been a big thing ever since the internet, and then more recently, mobile phone technology got better to the point where people could live stream and take videos and that type of thing. Even back to the days of Rodney King, remember? The reason we even knew what happened was because somebody videotaped, making that person a citizen journalist. So there's always been a propensity for the public to record for themselves, especially when we know we're not going to see it on mainstream television, in mainstream news. And this is because they don't have the time, because they're beholden to advertisers. There's only a certain amount of time they have for their stories. Once they've decided what was important, other things that happen in the community may not get coverage. And so what we've seen lately is of course we have people covering the stories, the news outlets covering the stories, but then we're seeing more and more, especially here, weather things happening, and somebody took a video of a lightning strike or whatever. That's something that the mainstream local news may not have seen, but a local person happened to have a mobile phone and happened to record it. So we're seeing a lot more of that type of thing. So as such, independent news becomes even more important. It can extend, because this is not to down regular news outlets or mainstream news outlets. This this is the extension of what the mainstream news media is able to do. So citizen journalists and independent media are critically important now. If this is something you want to do, I say start, but make sure that you are starting and that you are accurate and that you are researching and that you're not rushing to be first, but you're rushing to be right. It is better to be right than first.
Apropos, we have our second conversation piece, which Dr. Tachi can talk about also. So it's good we have her on here. We're going to talk about 47's takeover of Washington. So for those people who may not be aware, the President of the United States has sent in the National Guard, whatever, to deal with the terrible crime that's going on in Washington, even though the crime stats are showing crime is decreasing drastically in Washington. Now, I know there was a time where Dr. Tachi was a resident of the Washington area, so she can speak to this. Plus, with her journalistic background, no better to have her speak on this. Dr. Tachi, give her take about the Trump takeover of Washington.
Yeah, so as you said, I lived in DC for 9 years and it was all up in the fabric of the city. Not necessarily on the political end per se, but definitely on the social end, and what happened in the city. I had kind of my finger on the pulse of that. This is interesting because there are other cities in the US that have much worse things going on than Washington, D.C., yet there's no move by this administration to take them over. Could it be with the fact that he's in proximity he lives in or is a resident of that city, that he feels now that he is well within his rights to take it over? This has less to do with, because as you mentioned, the numbers do not support a crime wave or a rush of crime at all. The numbers don't support that. What is supported is that, again, going back to this whole thing, he wants to be applauded for something. He's quite aware of the criticisms that are levied at him. There's no way that he would not have seen on No King's Day that people are against him and this administration. There's no way that he didn't notice that when they did that cockamamie parade down, what was it, down Pennsylvania Avenue, I believe it was, that nobody was there. There's no way he is not seeing this. So, as out of touch as he is, he's in touch enough to know that he's not well liked. And what is his biggest thing? To be liked. So, this is what, when you do things like qualify or get a Nobel Peace Prize, this means people recognize you and they like you for some way, shape, or form. Everybody that's nominated somehow is well liked. But he's missing the point that you have to, it's not about being liked, it's about wanting to serve and wanting to serve the people. The president is supposed to be a public servant, and this is not how a public servant behaves. So my feelings about it's unnecessary. Why are you there? What is happening that is so terrible that's not happening in other cities, by the way, that you felt the need to take over this specific city? It seems a little odd, if you ask me. Why? When the numbers don't support it, it's only because you live there and you want to have control over the city. Now, never mind, you're already occupying the White House. You want more control. So this speaks to having more control over things. To finally then, oh, I can control this city. I can control that, because it's kind of like unobtrusive in a way right now, or obtuse, I should say, in a way right now, that he's in charge, but he doesn't really get to see what happens because he's not physically there all the time. But he's physically in Washington, D.C. And if he has control of that, he can physically see the results of his actions. It doesn't make any sense to thinking people, but to him it makes perfect sense.
Okay. We're trying to get back Cesar again. Let's try again. So Cesar, can please unmute yourself? Can you hear us?
Hear you. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
finally we've got you back. We're talking about 47's takeover of Washington. Your thought?
And I heard Dr. Tachi, and I do agree. And I apologize if I repeat anything that has already been said. Uh, the numbers don't support this takeover of Washington, but at the same time, we should be mindful to remember that crime anywhere is crime too much, right? That's one thing that we must not forget. But then I was seeing how there was this analysis of the cities that Attorney General Pam Bondi issued these letters to, in claiming high crime statistics, um, asylum or safety city for illegal um, black cities, immigrant cities, black mayors, etc., etc. Clearly, there is a matter that links this to the aspect of redistricting that's happening in Texas. It is definitely, how do you call that movie again? The Great White Hope. This is the notion of Trump, who clearly did say he was going to be the retribution punishing these cities or blue centers, aka Democrat centers, that supported George Floyd slash hashtag Black Lives Matter. This is also another way to show MAGA Christian nationalist or Christian fascist base that he's tough on crime, which of course means black and browns as criminals. Again, as I was saying earlier, there's no surprise to this. I feel zero sympathy to those who have voted for Trump and who are having voter remorse because they're black, they're brown, and suddenly they're seeing that either them or the family members or the friends and close ones are being victims of Trump's policies. I'd just like to bring to attention one thing, and Dr. Vibe, you've heard me say it again and again. Me talking about a hot summer.
Mhm.
It's been a hot summer. Clearly, the summers that are coming will be hot. And as I heard one analyst clearly say on the radio, what Trump is doing, and I think I can't remember the name of this general, General Milley, I believe, who talked about if Trump comes back to power, it might very well be the end of America as we know it. And indeed, this is what Trump is doing. Uh, the unraveling of America, the fabric of it, as imperfect as it was, aka 1776, all men are created, born equal, meanwhile, blacks are kept in slavery. But there was progress going on. And by progress, I don't just mean a certain Barack Hussein Obama becoming president of the United States. I'm talking progress for all minorities, notably black women. And this man, this president, this, how can I put it? This proud white supremacist who will assure you that he's not racist. Meanwhile, he has a long documented history of racism. He is absolutely doing and caring anything and everything to the white supremacist and Christian nationalism, and thus these cities, these bastions of progress, for all the flaws such as crime, homelessness, drugs, etc. But there are the proofs of progress of America becoming this nation where whites are the minority. And when we say whites, let us be mindful of the nuances. It is not whites who are progressive. It is not whites who are liberal. It is not whites who are married to a black man or black woman or whites who have traveled the world. They're catering to white, conservative, Christian, narrow minded, close to the world, not just in the South, but you talk all over the United States for Trump. And you can see this very well about how Trump was upset when I think the former Georgia state secretary, what was his name again? Raffensperger, if someone can correct me. The one that Trump was on the phone asking for votes in order to win Georgia. He switched parties. He left the Republican side to go Democrat. These are among the blacks and brown minorities, the LGBTQ, the woke minorities. It's also those whites. That's why when I come to your show, Dr. Vibe, I salute our sisters and brothers all over the world, but also salute white allies. And in terms of DEI, EDI work, I always remind the public servants and the senior leaders, those white extremists, racially, religiously speaking, social issue speaking, they also hate white allies. They also hate those white people who support Barack and Michelle Obama. They also hate those white people who care about social justice. Just as they hated those, what do you call that? The bus driver, freedom buses in the 50s and 60s.
The Freedom Rise.
Those freedom riders. Thank you, Dr. Tachi. Donald Trump is catering to the people. And I'm being very blunt here. I really want our people to understand this. Donald Trump is catering to the people who went to church on Sunday morning, and in the afternoon, they were having a picnic, waiting for the hanging of the local black man or black woman or black child.
Wow.
But he's also catering to those whites who are racist in the closet, and he's also catering to those blacks and browns who are voting MAGA, who are spewing MAGA rhetoric, who are doing all the mental gymnastics and identity gymnastics to convince you, to convince other black people that Trump is not racist, despite a documented history decades long, just because they will be able to show you a photo of Trump with some black celebrity from a couple of decades ago. This is the reality of where America is going, and The hot summer 2025 is just the prelude to the hotter summers that are coming, as the statistics are adamant. Between 2035 and 2050, whites, aka Caucasian, well, they're not really Caucasian, but you know what I mean. Whites of European background will be the racial minority in the United States between 2035 and 2050. All statistics are firm about that, and as such, Trump, Project 25, they need to evacuate. They want to evacuate as many non-white people out of the United States, just as the abortion laws and all that force as many white women to have children, basically to not be able to abort, because they don't care that black women abort. My gosh, abort even more. It is a racial white supremacist program that's there to prevent what all the data speak of: society changes, profound changes that are happening in the United States.
Excellent. Dr. Tachi, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, what else can I add to such artistry? I 1000% agree. And to add to that, the whole thing with the abortion and any of that, that was never targeted towards us anyway. I think this is what, yet again, this is a fight that we have taken on, even though most of us are resting. But this is the fight that we've taken on that really had nothing to do with us in the first place. So Cesar is absolutely correct. They're trying to prevent the decline of non-melanated babies not being born or being unborn. Right? That's what they are trying to prevent. Um, yeah, 100%.
Okay, I want to add on both with both you on this story also, though. Again, there's a gentleman who I listen to periodically named Michael Wolff. Don't know if people know the name, but he has written 4 books on 47. And during the first 47 administration, some way, somehow, he had a place or had, from what I understand, he's saying he actually had a residence inside the White House for 7 months. And one of the things that he's on regularly, but one of the things that he said about the takeover of Washington by 47 was 47 about 2 weeks ago came to his captain and said, I need something. And what he meant was, I need something to divert from the Epstein files.
Hmm. Hmm.
And this is what he came up with. Any surprise that this is more a diversion than anything else?
Oh, go ahead, Cesar.
Well, why are people surprised about a man who has kept showing his cards for so many years? And when I say so many years, this is his second time in the White House. Uh, he knows better how to break the law, if you can say it that way. I mean, look, Bill Clinton said, Bill Clinton talked about being strong but morally corrupt, as the Republicans are, versus being morally righteous but weak, as the Democrats are. And thus now we see Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who wants to basically reciprocate in favor of the Democrats. But Gavin Newsom literally said how Trump does anything and everything to distract you from the real hot take issue, as the Epstein file and, of course, the inflation issue. What is he so afraid of? I don't think it's so much about being afraid. Dr. Tachi talked earlier about the narcissism aspect of Trump in regards to wanting to be liked. French media ran an analysis of the Alaska fiasco, we can call it now, in regards to, this is not about Ukraine. This is about Barack Obama. And they found this interesting angle in which they said, If Trump succeeds in eventually beyond the diversion and distraction from the Epstein file, if he ultimately succeeds, as he has the majority in Congress and the Senate, to have a third mandate, because Trump is fully aware, as Dr. Vibe, allow me to remind you something I said, I had been saying for a year. The four men I hold accountable for Trump 2.0: Mary Garland of the Department of Justice, Justice Roberts of the Supreme Court, Mitch McConnell of, was it Congress or the Senate? But
Yes,
Mitch
with the leader of
McConnell
the Senate. Yeah,
and
for the
Joe
Republicans.
Biden,
Yep.
as President of the United States. These four men in enabling a Trump 2.0. If Trump was to succeed in having a third mandate, the French media, this did not come from my intellect. The analysis that the French media made is that if Trump succeeded to be able to run for a third mandate, because technically, like a good dictator, he needs to die in power. Because if he doesn't die in power, he's looking even more at a jail, likely at a jail sentence somehow, some way than before. But if he succeeds to run for a third mandate in 2028, there could be his rival could be a certain Barack Obama. It sounds far-fetched, but back in 2016, a President Trump sounded far-fetched. January 6, 2021, it sounded far-fetched to think that man would not see jail time. In November, or before November, it sounded far-fetched that he would win. And here we are now. Diversion is the name of the game, but really it's about power and control at any cost. When we see, like I was saying, the reuniting with an old girlfriend that you still love, when we see 2025 Donald Trump in Alaska reuniting with Putin that he last met in person in Helsinki, Finland in 2018, you can see through the screen the excitement and joy of a man who is looking at his role model, who is looking at what he wishes he could be. It could have been Putin, it could have been Xi Jinping, it could have been Kim Jong un. The autocratic nature, the appeal, the desire to power, to control, but also the riches. Vladimir Putin is a multi-billionaire because technically all the oligarchs, he can take the money anytime. It's not even a question. Trump envies Putin. Trump
Mhm.
will go great length for these white supremacists, Christian nationalists, etc., etc. And these people will vote for him, do all the mental gymnastic to not see the racism and sexism, anti-Christian attitude. I don't think 6 decades after his death that even our brothers, Martin Luther King, our leaders such as Malcolm X, and even Nelson Mandela Madiba, and even Thomas Sankara, Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah. I can give many names. I don't think they could have foreseen such a president of the United States. And last but not least, when we see so many Africans loving Vladimir Putin and finding him to be such a master strategist, because now he's back in the international news at the forefront as a great leader, what you're seeing is an emotional but also socio-historical consequence of the discrimination and oppression of the Western world in geopolitics, which also feeds Donald Trump and his sycophants in keeping on pushing him forward. Why? Because the alternative is a Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, but especially a Barack Obama. progressive, aka progressive LGBTQ rights, women, notably Black women's rights, a more multicultural society where you see women in public and Jewish people in finance, in education. Ooh, these people will support Trump, do all the mental gymnastics to not see his blatant flaws until it hits them, such as the big ugly bill and the impact it will have on the parents and grandparents. This is where the turn can happen. It's fascinating. We live in historic times, and it's not historic because of the Alaska 2025 fiasco. It's historic because Donald Trump has succeeded his greatest wish. Since 2016, he has been a culture vulture, a political vulture, a media vulture. Dr. Tashi, forgive me, I took too long. You go ahead.
No, I'm only going to agree with you. I,
Thank you.
a
Thank you.
culture vulture thing. I love that you said that because it really shows that he can only remain relevant by usurping culture, and that's his whole thing. I think this whole thing is it's not even because my contention was when he first came to power in 2016, number one, he was surprised. Number two, was not a job that he wanted to have. What he wants is the fame and recognition that comes with this, but he doesn't want to do anything because he doesn't know how to do anything.
He doesn't care to know. He's not interested in learning, in doing it properly.
Exactly. He's not because he doesn't care about any of that. He cares about the recognition that comes with being the head of state.
Yeah.
He looks at people like Vladimir Putin, looks at people like Kim Jong Un, and sees the absolute control they have, and that's what he desires. He just desires the absolute control because it wouldn't be enough for him to just do what he's been doing, which is mess up companies into bankruptcies, which is become a Hollywood. Here's the thing. I think initially his thing is to conquer. This is a sickness. People who always have a want to conquer something is very wrong with them because that means they're never satisfied with what they have, and they are also conquering at the expense of other people, and they don't care. To me, that's a sociopath. That's sociopathic behavior. So he is in this business to conquer, and he wanted initially to conquer Hollywood, to be this great person that people looked up into in Hollywood with The Apprentice, with all these shows, with all the different spin-offs of The Apprentice. But he is not well liked. People in Hollywood don't like him. And that's what he has been. And this is why there's been like a little back and forth with California. Why else, besides the fact that they're a blue state, why else would you be so interested in what's happening in LA? Granted, fine, there's a large immigrant population there, but why else are you so interested? You're interested because it's connected to the industry that you so want to be loved in and so want to conquer that doesn't want you. So rather than let it exist, you want to destroy it. Whatever he can't have, he seeks to destroy. And that is really dangerous. And again, this is when you bring on people that the people who voted for him are not bright at all. I don't mind saying this, and I will say it in person. You all are not bright. In fact, you are quite daft and bereft. You're bereft because if you voted for him, it's only because you thought he was somehow going to protect your money. If you voted for him because you're daft, you're dumb. So it's one of those two things. It's really a sad state of affairs when we look at it. So that's to add to what my good friend Cesar said.
I can only see it getting worse. I can only see it getting worse. I don't know. I don't know what summer 2026 has in store for us after the midterms. But I mean, hot summer, winter is coming with the inflation, the price of things, but also, I mean, they were talking about how media in Russia were rejoicing Meanwhile, people in Ukraine fell even more into depression. And now you have, what is it? Pam Bondi sent, I think, 33 letters to cities across the United States. You have 33 mayors who are basically gearing up for Donald Trump to make a move on them. I don't think even, my gosh, I was talking about our black leaders. I don't think even Senator McCarthy back in the 50s could have foreseen this. America is really in unprecedented waters. And as General Milley said, a second Trump administration at the White House might truly be the unraveling of the American fabric. This, I mean, it's not even a year, but the consequences are and will be long lasting.
But if I have permission to interrupt, though, Cesar, hasn't it already unraveled?
Hasn't yet. And I will tell you, I will give you a very, very, very graphic image why it hasn't yet. January 6, 2021, those people who committed that crime upon Congress, they're still living good. Where has been the response from the left against this president? Is it the fear of violence? It hasn't been yet because if I give you a parallel, January 2023 in Brasilia, in Brazil, the fans of President Jair Bolsonaro, aka Tropical Trump, they stormed the parliament and they got punished by the law. And right now, Jair Bolsonaro is being judged, he's being tried with risking jail term. Donald Trump never made it that far. He wasn't judged for January 6th. It hasn't yet. There are still far too many people enjoying the barbecue than to care about the state of democracy in America. And even when we talk about our people, we have far too many black people who are caring about the latest entertainment drama, whether it's Puffy or whoever the next major black star will be, or the next rap beef, to care about the state of democracy. We have a culture, not just in the United States, but truly in the West, where entertainment reigns supreme. Everybody is thinking in terms of consumerism, aka the next dollar or euro, and religion is still controlling the minds of so many as they're thinking notably about the rapture. They're not thinking about the state of democracy. They're not truly concerned. Far too many. There are many who are. We are here on the screen as an example. There are people who protest, such as No King, etc. There are advocacy groups. There are basically apps being put in place in regards to the coming of ICE. And please, do not get me wrong. It is one thing to follow the law in terms of something being legal. It's another thing to do something only right. And in that same logic, we can see law enforcement people, whether they be police, whether they be immigration, such as ICE, or they be the troops that Trump is sending in Washington, with the leaders, the superiors in command, they know this is wrong, and yet they are still participating in it. They are refusing to be conscientious objectors to the orders that are being given. This is why we haven't yet unraveled the fabric, because when that truly happens, the people should come down. And I'm telling you, what was it again? Summer, what was that year? I can't remember. I think it was summer 1968 when students across the Western world were protesting the conservative regimes that were preventing the progress of freedoms and social justice. I can't remember if it was summer 68 or summer 67, but that hasn't come yet. That hasn't come yet.
Well, Dr. Tachi, what's your take on Cesar's comment? You live in the United States.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I do. Um, I think, well, a couple of things. Let me speak to the January 6th. They did a very good, all of this was orchestrated. It was not regardless of what people think, where they were surprised, this was orchestrated very well ahead of time. But here's the thing, this is when he was packing the courts with his people. And the GOP did nothing about that. In fact, they were so in support of it. So now you've got these courts that are on his side for this thing. So when you do try and bring suit, you either don't have enough, and I think that was part of the thing too, to really have enough evidence to show this. But here's part of the problem: they don't have to have evidence for things clearly. They operate the way they like. What the fault of the people on the side of right and the Democrats are is they try to operate under the letter of the law. Well, you can't do that with lawless people. So I think that's part of the thing, that he packed the courts and they are trying to do things through the legal system, a legal system that is now skewed because they don't pay attention to the law clearly. So that's one thing. Another thing is I wanted to compare, the fact that there are so many people that are swayed and moved by pop culture as opposed to paying attention what is happening to the democracy. And it's not excusable, but I understand why. And I kind of liken it to, you were talking about plastics before, and I 100% agree. We have a problem. If you look at Africa, especially, you're from Cameroon, you see, I don't know that Cameroon is as bad as Nigeria with the polythene bags all over the place in the streets. But Nigeria is littered with these plastic bags because it's an oil producing country. These polythene bags are a byproduct of the oil industry. So you see these things all over the place. But it's the same thing like when you have the G7 and all these summits and they're talking about reducing emissions and all of these things. And who do they point to first? The emerging markets. Well, we all have to know, sir, you were the ones who created this problem. You sat there and produced all your plastic, put all the things into the air, and now that we are trying to advance, now there's a problem. Now you're trying to. So it's not that I don't agree. I think we need to reduce emissions because generally the people who are affected the most tend to be the global majority when it comes to these things. But it's ironic that you are asking us now to do things and reduce. You should do more because you were the ones that created this problem. So I'm likening that to the over reliance on entertainment by people of color, or especially Black people in this country. All this time, you got to enjoy, and now you want us to care about the state of the. No, no, no. You should do more. Which is why a lot of us are calling. No, we're not marching. This is your fight. You created the problem. Solve it. So I kind of liken it to the same thing. It doesn't mean that that's right and that you should sit out or shouldn't sit out. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, excuse me, we were not the cause of the problem, and now we're being expected to fix it. And I do understand that for years, since there's been the attempt by people of color, particularly Black people, to try and address these things and to fight for these things, they're arguably tired. And therefore, I'm like, you know what? Let me just watch this on TV because I am tired. Let somebody else do it. There's a whole meme on TikTok and stuff that gets somebody else to do it. And I think that's where we are. So it is what it is at that point. That's how I would respond. But I mean, I 100% agree with all of this. I think that going back to the January 6th thing, it's really sad, and this is why it worked. You get people who believe that there is people with a very strong external locus of control, that their lot in life is because of others, because of outsiders, because of immigrants, because of people who don't deserve. So you convince them that somehow, never mind it's their own ineptitude, never mind it's you pitting them against other people as to why they're in this predicament. You've made them believe that they're in this predicament because of somebody else. removing complete personal responsibility from them. Very easy to manipulate people when you throw another factor in there and then make them believe that it's somebody else's fault. Very sad, to be honest. And in terms of summer of 2026, well, let's see what happens. But I do know a fair amount of people who are looking at like I'm not going to be here in the summer of 2026 because it's not worth my time, my energy, my sanctity to continue to stay in a country that is this much of a mess. And it is a mess. Sorry, go ahead, Cesar.
Agree with you, and let me add to some of the things that you said. As Cesar is in my name, 2,000 years ago, the Roman emperors understood this Roman maxim, panem et circenses, basically bread and games to distract the people in order to keep accumulating power and wealth.
Hmm.
At the same time, there is an interesting read in politics called Why Kansas Keeps Voting Republicans. And the analysis over decades has been that the Republican Party in Kansas has convinced the average Kansas voter, aka white person, that despite the poverty and challenges, the worst fate for them would be to be on equal footing as a black person. Despite the fact that Republican Party, where they tend to rule, those states tend to be less educated and have less social programs and government intervention. Also, let us be honest and not forget that when it came to women voters, the highest demographics that voted against Trump were black women at I think 90 or 92% in
92%.
2024. There you go. And when it comes to men, although effectively Trump did make advances in terms of black male votes, as too many of our brothers are gladly disillusioned in the resentment against the Democratic Party to go ally themselves with white supremacy. Still, the highest demographics that voted against Trump when it came to male was black males at I think 80%.
Correct.
It speaks volumes. It speaks further volumes when we look at the fact that in America right now, the second demographics, aka the first minority, are Latinos. Very broad terms for non-English speaking, with majority being whites, aka white Latinos, because they are white. They just speak language and culture is just Spanish for the majority of them, aka Hispanics. The demographics of Latinos keep increasing in the United States, and they're also the number one demographics when it comes to interracial marriage and and biracial children. But at the same time, although statistically the number stays the same at roughly 13-14% of the population, if we desegregate the statistic, it's 13-14 African Americans. The percentage of Black people in the United States is also increasing, along the percentage of interracial relationship and therefore mixed slash biracial children. As I was saying earlier, statistics are all adamant 2025 to 2050, whites will become the minority in the United States, whites of European descent. This, all these informations are strongly in the mind of the Heritage Foundation that produced Project 2025, just as of the white supremacists who are behind Trump, the Christian nationalists, Christian fascists who are supporting Israel at any cost whatsoever to America and to human rights, truly, including human rights of Jewish people. They don't care. It's going to be a hot summer, 2026. I don't know what will happen, but I know one thing. Prophecies don't exist. One thing that's for sure, the writing is on the wall in regards to who this president of the United States is, and I say it again, Ronald Reagan would not recognize his Republican Party, and even Senator McCarthy of the 50s would be shocked at what American democracy has become. Those four men that I said are responsible for Trump being in power now, there have millions of people who are voting for Trump despite any fact and reason and logic. It's overwhelmingly emotional, as in a cult, until they feel the heat of his policies, such as Latino voters who voted for Trump and are being deported by ICE. Dr. Vibe, it's 6:30. Allow
Yes,
me,
I
I'm just
think
being mindful of the
so.
time.
Yeah, so no problem. We went past, but first of all, I want to thank Dr. Tachi for being available and making it always an epic conversation. So, Dr. Tachi, thank you as always.
I thank you as
Thank
well,
you.
Dr. Tachi,
And
for being
and
with me.
Dr. Tachi also too. Where can people get in touch with you?
Oh, find me on Instagram at Dr._Tachi, and please watch Indie Soup Media at indiesoupmedia.tv.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Tachi, as always. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care, Dr. Tachi.
All right. And as always with Cesar, if you want to get a hold of Cesar, you can catch him via email at president@rootsandculturecanada.com, Facebook, Cesar Remy Emery. And I not right today. I gotta represent him correctly. Let me just do it really quick because I didn't do it right today. So okay. Gotta put it back up. Let me do it. Let me represent him correctly because I don't like not representing Cesar correctly. So
I'm on it.
all right, let's do EMR. Okay, that is the correct. There we go. That is correct. And myself, if you want to catch me, the Dr. Vibe Show is the website, and YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Dr. Vibe Show. Instagram at the drvibeshow.com. Email address dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com, and on X at drvibeshow. Also, you can catch me on Substack, drvibe.substack.com/subscribe, and on Blue Sky at drvibe.bsky.social. And you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show website. As always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get stronger, get stronger. Block assumptions, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you are not making money, make history. Try to do both and always make it better. Again, thanks again to Dr. Tachi, and God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith while good. And thanks, producer Matt. We'll see you soon.
Just take a quick moment.
Yeah.
You just introduce yourself. Let Dr. Vibe welcome you into the show. As I told
Oh.
you, Dr. Vibe.
No. I welcome. I'm really good to have you here. I didn't want to. You were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt. You were on a roll, but
In an award created by whites, dominated by whites, run by whites. And you're a billionaire, bro. FYI, I don't. It's probably the first time of the year that I use the word bro.
yes, it is. That's the first time, as long as I've known you, you used it.
My daughter would laugh.
But for many people, the economy ain't great. There we go. I saw that.